that doesn't look good, does it? We're going to have to start that over. Oh, shit. Hold on, I need to change that. Hold on. We're going to stop that record real quick. And then we're going to go right back to it. All right, here we go. You gotta love technical issues here. Now we've got yet one more issue here. So, hey guys, welcome. As you can see, we're still working out all the kinks. So we're gonna do this one more time, and then we're gonna really hit our stride because this is the first time we've done this. So we're gonna do it one more time. Here we go. Give me a second. All right, let me check my, yep, that's all looks good. Okay, here we go. One more time. Aloha and welcome to Trust and Verify, the only show where the host continually tells you, do not trust me, verify all my information. But before we can get to any further verification, I got to introduce my friend, my partner, my co-host, Boogie Bumper. Boogie, how's it going?
Very good, James. It's always good to have a seamless, faultless entry into the airwaves. Congratulations once again for landing this Concorde without the arse end being too much on fire. It's going to be easily put out. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Good to see you in the chat room at this adjusted time. Got a lot of stuff to go over, James. The passing of John McCain, we're going to talk about potential replacements in the Senate seat. That's a very interesting subtext to the political conversation going on. A porn star is going to be in Congress. It's not what you think. Donald Trump's lawyer, there's a bit of backtracking going on, and Donald Trump is betraying America, plus a big hammering all coming up.
That sounds awesome, folks. We'll be right back. Stay there.
Friend and foe alike, join me, Varun Prasad, every week on the Common Discourse Weekly Roundup podcast. You can follow the show on @TCD Tweet on Twitter and Periscope. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, Stream Me, iTunes, or your preferred podcast platform. If you like what you hear, or you would like to express your raging discontent, please consider leaving us a review. The Common Discourse, independent political opinion, thought, and analysis for the people, by the people.
Aloha and welcome back to Trust and Verify. Let's get kicked off. Let's get our first story. What have we got for us, Boogie?
Yes, well, obviously the recent passing of Senator John McCain has been all over the news everywhere. Interestingly enough, James, just a little side note on that, it was reported here locally that Donald Trump's reach out to the McCain family was obviously fake because he hated John McCain. So I thought, well, that's interesting because it really doesn't matter if he had came out and said, I hate John McCain and I'm glad he's dead, would they give him a pat on the back for being honest? Probably not. But instead he does, the usual thing. Well, the hearts and prayers and all that kind of thing go out to the family, which you'd expect. But I just want to draw a line in the sand, if I can steal an Obama era term just for a moment. We don't do that here. I'm just going to assume that everybody has already said their condolences, and I'm just going to assume that everybody has sent out hearts and prayers and thoughts and all the rest of it, because I don't really feel that nothing annoys me more, James, than when pundits and broadcasters come on and do the exact same thing over and over and over again. Oh, well, we can't start a conversation about John McCain unless we first spend 10 minutes talking about what a hero he is, right? So let's just assume that everybody's on board with that, and then we can move on to the juicy stuff. So this is in the New York Times today, James. Arizona governor faces a tough choice: a Senate cut from McCain's mold or Trump's. Senator John McCain's death this weekend laid bare the long simmering Republican tensions over who will be appointed to fill his Arizona seat, pitting the pragmatic wing of the party that Mr. McCain represented against the ascendant hardline forces loyal to Donald Trump. And hostile to the late senator. On Sunday, a day after the senator and former prisoner of war succumbed to brain cancer, Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona issued a statement through an aide indicating he will not appoint a successor to Mr. McCain until after what is expected to be nearly a week-long series of services in his honor in Arizona, Washington, and Annapolis. So the interesting thing that I find straight away from that, just those first two paragraphs, James, all of a sudden now John McCain represents the pragmatic side of the Republican Party, the side that wanted to go to war in Eastern Europe and around 13 other countries in North Africa and the Middle East. That's very pragmatic. The pragmatic side of the Republican Party that voted to repeal Obamacare a record number of times while Obama was in the White House, and then given the opportunity to do it with a Republican president in the White House, John McCain refused. So this is obviously very pragmatic. Of course, the Trump-aligned forces are the hardliners, James. This is the new Nazi party, as we know. This is where all the fascists come from. One suggestion I have seen is that McCain's wife would be brought in to finish up the rest of his term. Is that for real? Like, would that happen? Honestly?
Yeah, honestly.
What the hell is going on?
So, yeah, real quick, I can tell you what's going on. So I saw some in the chat there. We had a good comment. How about an election? Well, here's the problem. For one, every state has different laws regarding things like this, but in general, they all follow along these lines. Is that, number one, the governor will always appoint a Senate position as a fill-in interim until the remainder of the term is completed. Now, some states will do a special election that will do it, but in general, it's just an appointment. And a lot of people are wondering why that is. Well, that's because that's actually true to our Constitution, to the way our republic was set up. See, the senators are supposed to represent the states. The senators are supposed to represent the people of their specific state through their state legislatures, which were supposed to appoint the senators. Okay? So make no mistake, that's the whole reason why we have what's called lower house and an upper chamber. This is exactly what it's for. And what happened is that the progressives and the leftists hijacked our Constitution and decided that they could sell to everybody that we should elect senators. This is why you had the creation of the swamp. All of this stuff goes back to the 17th Amendment. The 17th Amendment is the worst thing that ever happened to our country. It literally is the foundation of the swamp. So what's most likely to happen here is that Doug Ducey is going to stick with the establishment rhino swamp creatures that run his state. So the reason that they want to get in Cindy is because they can control Cindy, because they can still threaten her with the things that her husband did, the things that her husband had over his head. They can still hold all the same leverage.
Can I ask you something, though, James?
Yeah.
Now, is there enough support for Donald Trump in a place like Arizona in which this would actually prove to be a very short-sighted move, like shooting yourself in the foot? Like, how do you think Donald Trump supporters in Arizona, or people who are just anti the swamp concept, the abstract concept, how do you think they would react to John McCain? Oh, we've gotten rid of John McCain. He's gone now by the grace of God. Oh, let's just put his wife in instead. How do you think they would react to something like that?
shockingly, I think they'll handle it pretty well. And this is the problem, is that Arizona is the home of the swamp. We learned that through the primary season. We learned that through the elections. And we can watch what's going on right now between McSally and Kelly Ward and how Arpaio has inserted himself in there. And we can look at the connections all over the place to the Koch brothers and to Soros. The establishment owns Arizona politics. Like, remember, we've talked about this for a long time. The California is the left stronghold. Arizona was the right stronghold. The Clinton Foundation was the clearinghouse for all of the left. Well, the McCain Institute was the clearinghouse for all of the right. This is all you have to understand why they're the two hotbeds of the swamp, is all the cash flows through those two organizations. So this is why you see a lot of people in our side of the coin here, and especially in alternative media, picking up on what's going on and talking about this kind of all over the place, saying, look, I don't care that the guy is dead, okay? I feel bad for his family. They bought his lies just like half of Arizona. That's, immaterial. But what is material? The guy's been a traitor his entire life. He was a traitor when he got pardoned the first time, and he's a traitor still to this day. He just never changed his stripes. It's all over the place how corrupt this guy was.
I find it interesting, though. If California is the stronghold of the Democrat Party, James, and if Arizona is the stronghold of the Republican swamp, can we just move these people out of the desert? It seems to be wherever there is a dry arid temperature, James, the world over, people seem to go a little bit nutso from time to time. So if we could just move these strongholds out of the desert, maybe get them, at least put them on a beach. Well, no, the beach doesn't really count because you've got the Democrats in California, don't you? There's plenty of beaches there. Yeah. If we could just move them up a little bit up north, get a little bit more, cool temperature into those veins, maybe then they'll calm down. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But I just find it amazing, that level of, well, we'll just insert John McCain's wife. To me, it's, I don't know, as an outsider looking in, it's very short-sighted. Like, I can imagine the reaction. I mean, it's not going to be one.
Yeah, no, I was just going to insert real quick that I think I agree with you 100%, but I think what the issue here is, I think what the play is that they think that it's not going to matter. They think that because they pretty much have a lockdown on the swamp election of the Senate for already between McSally and Dr. Kelly Ward, they also think that if they insert Cindy, all that's going to happen is they're going to win with the deep state over the long haul through the November elections against the president. So they don't see it as a losing agenda at this point. We got about 30 seconds.
I'd almost prefer Meghan McCain at this point over Cindy. She's young, she's fresh, she's hip, she's on The View. How bad can she be? She gets on well with Whoopi Goldberg. There's a vote winner for a start. Speaking of the swamp, coming up after the next break, James, we'll get right into the dirty stuff of the swamp. Mostly Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, Michael Cohen's lawyer backtracking, all that and plenty more coming up after the next break. Stick around, guys. Thanks for joining us on TAVshow.com.
Guys, we'll be right back.
This is a moment in history that will look back that either the Republican Party became dominant for a generation or the Republican Party died. I'm telling you, it is that serious. And for those of you who are saying it must be perfect, it must be, I will look at you. If they don't get this done because it must be, I will look at you in 2018 when will you lose, and I will put my finger at you and I say, this is on you. You did this. We had a chance to MAGA. We had a chance to win America back. We had a chance to support our President Donald Trump, and you stood against him. You stood with the Democrats, and you made us lose, and you destroyed this country. And you can go to hell as far as I'm concerned.
Welcome back, everybody. We got our first segment down and out of the way. We talked about John McCain and his potential replacements, and now we are moving on to story number 2. What do you got for us, Boogie?
Yes, James, from one stiff to another. Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels says she's willing to testify before Congress. Won't that be interesting for the lads down at Capitol Hill? Adult film star Stormy Daniels on Sunday said she will happily testify before Congress about the $130,000 payment she received from President Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen in 2016. Quote, if Donald Trump has done things he shouldn't have during his campaign, he should be impeached, Daniels told British tabloid The Mirror. If he has broken the law, he should be arrested and treated like anyone else. I'll happily testify under oath to prove my story is true. I tend to think this is an elaborate scheme to get one of my long-held preferred porn movie titles up and running, James, pardon the pun, Hung Jury. So I want to see Stormy Daniels stars in Hung Jury, followed up by the sequel, Hard Evidence. I think we can make that happen. Of course we know. Of course we know at this point, though, saying that you'll testify before Congress doesn't necessarily make it a fact. And I still find it amazing that Mr. Avenatti is on MSNBC and CNN constantly, James. Like, I'm talking every single day. It still reeks to me of a PR campaign.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, it came out 2 weeks ago. Michael Cohen paid for this himself. That was laughed at when you suggested that a few months ago, just to raise it. Oh, what if Michael Cohen paid for this himself? Don't be ridiculous, Boogie. That's a conspiracy theory. You're a right-wing conspiracy theorist. And then it just happens to dribble out, well, he did pay for it himself. But where do you see this ending, James? Like, what are we dealing with here?
None of this is going to end.
This isn't going to sink him, is it?
Until December. Yeah, no, this isn't going anywhere, but it's not going away either. This is all they have, guys. This is it. This is like, think about how glad you are that this is all they have. Like, literally, if this was President Bush, we'd be in completely different, types of hearings if Bush was not a globalist. Like, if these things that we thought were true in the past, I mean, things would be a whole lot worse, right? Look at what they did. Look what Clinton had, like Blackwater. Clinton had, the Lewinsky scandal. Clinton had insider trading going on. Like, there's a lot there that everybody always tries to brush under the rug, and all we're going to say is, oh, it was just the Lewinsky thing. Oh, no. Clinton had some much worse things going on than the Lewinsky thing. Let me tell you. That was just an add-on. That was like his version of the Stormy Daniels incident, except for there was actual video of a porn of the president with Monica Lewinsky. So, it's literally just, it's not going away till December. It's all they got.
I just wonder if we're at the point now whereas in the past, James, perhaps, more conservatively minded people, the Christian voters, the voting blocks and whatnot, which are quite large. Whereas in the past, they might have looked down their nose at something like this. They might have frowned upon this. Just the innuendo itself might have been enough to, would you say, sever, large chunks of Donald Trump's supporter base away from the White House. And I've had this feeling for a while, and it is just an opinion, and I could be wrong, but I think we're beyond the point where I think average people now, and a critical mass of them, are just, they're at this point now where they're like, you know what? I don't care, because they watch scandal after scandal after scandal on the opposite side, and no outrage, nothing gets done about it, and it's just laughing in your face if you mention it, like, oh, well, too bad, blah, blah, blah. And now that the shoe's on the other foot, all of a sudden you're supposed to crucify him. And I think people are like, yeah, you know what? Nobody thinks he's an angel, and I don't care who he had sex with. I really don't care. Like, it's just about beating you now. Like, we only care about beating you. I mean, pardon the pun, but is that a reasonable, is that a zeitgeist that you see in America now?
I'm gonna, you guys, you and our buddy Greeno, you guys always talk about, lifting up the kimono. So you know what? It's time to lift up a little bit of kimono here. And I'm going to expose something that I know we're already too far gone, so they can't use it against us. If Boogie and I were running the mainstream media, we'd be much more effective than where you see things currently. What they should have done was quit trying to take away our president, quit trying to invalidate our vote, and quit trying to invalidate us. Had they done that, had they just publicly went along with the flow, they would have been much more effective at allowing their sanctimony a place to work. They would have been much more effective at allowing their innuendo to actually wedge us apart. But Boogie's absolutely correct. They have exposed themselves so far to the left and so far gone that we don't care. I don't care if you bring me a videotape of Donald Trump doing some really nasty things with Stormy Daniels. Don't care. It doesn't matter to me. No. I don't even care if you brought me a videotape of him doing nasty things with Michael Cohen. Don't care, because you're trying to take away our president. You're trying to invalidate our vote. You're trying to put us underneath your slavery and your opinion of what everything means. And we're not taking it. We're just not taking it. We don't care. We understand that the only person that's fighting for us is Donald Trump. He's our only hope, because you people have all exposed yourselves as being scumbags, corrupt, and you all belong in prison.
How about this, James, from just about 5 days ago? Yahoo News. Trump accuses ex-lawyer Cohen of making up stories to get a plea deal. US President Donald Trump lashed out at Michael Cohen on Wednesday after his former lawyer implicated him in campaign finance violations, accusing him of making up stories in order to get a plea deal. The president's longtime lawyer dealt him a bitter political blow, pardon the pun, on Tuesday, as he admitted to felony charges in New York that included making illegal campaign contributions and implicated the president. Now, this was obviously widely reported as Donald Trump making up fake news once again. Hot goss off the press, James, just an hour ago. Daily Caller. Oh, we don't want to subscribe. Wasn't expecting that screen. How's that for lifting up the kimono? Cohen attorney backtracks on claim that Trump had advanced knowledge of Russian hacking. There you go. Lanny Davis, an attorney for Michael Cohen, is backtracking from his stunning claim that President Donald Trump had advanced knowledge of Russian hacking efforts. During interviews on Tuesday and Wednesday, Davis laid out a grave allegation against Trump, saying that Cohen had information that would be of interest to special counsel Robert Mueller, including about Russian hacking of Democrats' emails. What do you know? Donald Trump was right. He was making shit up to get a deal. Where's the fake news? Where's the backtrack?
Absolutely. I mean, how many times do we have to talk about the same thing over and over and over again? Donald Trump? Oh my God, man. What is wrong with our tongues today, Boogie? I'm telling you, it's like tongue twister Sunday. Every
I'm just
time
looking
Donald
for the Trump video. That's what I'm focusing on.
So every time Donald Trump tweets, he gets proven right. The mainstream media goes crazy and says he's lying, he's full of crap, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets proven right. This is the best part about Donald Trump and how he tweets directly to us, the Trump supporters, is because the left obfuscates the truth so they keep their people stupid. But we get to still get the benefit of all the information. So what does that tell us that's coming next? What tells me, and I look at the timeline, the Hillary email investigation's about to explode on the front page, probably next week. Things are moving. Like you can see every time Donald Trump has tweeted towards Jeff Sessions, Rosenstein or Sessions do something positive for the MAGA movement. Every single time. And now you have him do this. He tweets out that this is all crap. It's all fake news. And then what happens when push comes to shove? Lanny Davis, that right-wing conspiracy theorist, has to back down and has to say, yeah, no, he really didn't have any evidence at all that the president knew a damn thing about anything that was going on.
Yeah, look, I can be ultra cynical about this stuff, and let me bounce this off you, James, and see what you think. I suspect it's possible, it's plausible that you raid Michael Cohen's office and you unearth all kinds of dirty dealings, which may or more than likely may not be pertinent to the President of the United States of America. Just a whole bunch of dirty shit going on in a whole bunch of areas. You then sit him down in a room and you put the file in front of him and you say, right, Mr. Cohen, you've been very busy and we've got a lot of information on you, my friend. Here's what you're going to do. We're going to put this plea deal in front of you and you're going to sign it. Otherwise, you're going to go away for a very long time. What I find ironic, James, is 3 weeks ago, nobody was to believe a single thing that Michael Cohen said. You know why? He worked for Donald Trump. He's a shyster lawyer. Everything he says is a lie. You can't believe that guy. You can't trust him as far as you can throw him. Now with this plea deal, all of a sudden, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. There's rainbows shooting out of his ass. He is the bastion of truth as we know it. Right? I mean, can anybody fix that juxtaposition, you know?
I don't even want to imagine that juxtaposition.
Well, to me, well, that's the cynical side of me. That's the cynical side of me. And then you had a lot of people coming out and saying, well, you know what? This isn't even a campaign finance violation. So that's the other thing to consider as well. The fact that he's hired Lanny Davis, who's a longtime Clinton lawyer, I mean, it just stinks, doesn't it? Really?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely stinks, folks. We're going to take one more commercial break, and we are going to come back with the hammering. And then after that, stick around because we will have bonus content following the end of the hammering. We have changed up the format. We're trying this out. We'll be right back. Enjoy this next commercial.
Do you lie awake at night pondering life's big questions? Is there a God? What is the meaning of life? How would one do an hour-long sports show without ever actually talking about sport? If yes, we can help you answer 33% of these pressing questions. All you have to do is check out the starting block on tavshow.com, Periscope, Stream Me, or YouTube, Wednesday mornings at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also download the podcast on iTunes just by searching for The Starting Block in the store or at thestartingblock.podbean.com. Or if you're really desperate for answers, why not check us out on Twitter at The Starting Block. No K at the end, don't forget to drop that K. Enlightenment is now only a click away.
Now that is a freaking awesome commercial. Aloha and welcome back, folks. It's time for the world-famous Boogie Bumper to provide the Stop the Hammering segment. And here we go.
Stop the hammering.
You know, James, in this crazy, upturned, mixed-up world, who knows what to believe these days? You know, who's to say what's right and wrong? But then sometimes you have to, you know, fall back on your discernment. And I tend to think that dragging jurors out of the Paul Manafort trial to put them on CNN, apparently Trump-supporting jurors, to ask them all the reasons why Donald Trump should not pardon Paul Manafort before it's even been mentioned by the president, seems to me like this would be one of the do not do's of the current age, regardless of how far we've slipped. So let's check it out. I know you're very excited about this. Get your prediction hats ready.
Tonight, we have an inside look at the Paul Manafort trial from someone who was right in the thick of it. As you know, earlier this week, the president's former campaign chair, Paul Manafort, was convicted on 8 felony counts. Paula Duncan was on that jury. Earlier today, she told Anderson what prevented Manafort from being convicted on all 18 counts, why she doesn't think the president should pardon him, and what, as a Trump supporter, she thinks about the Mueller investigation as a whole. Take a look.
Paula, thanks very much for joining us. You obviously have a very interesting up-close view of this case. You probably know it better than just about anybody else out there. I know you've said that you would have convicted Paul Manafort on all counts. Can you explain why that wasn't the outcome?
We had one
I can explain why. Because the other counts were deemed a mistrial. I know you don't necessarily have to be a juror to know that, and being a juror doesn't mean that you necessarily understand what a mistrial is, but that's why he wasn't convicted on the other counts, believe it or not.
One juror who held out her vote, we had two, one that would flip-flop from one day to the next, would say she was pressured and change her vote. We had some of that, but in the end, it was one person who, even though we could put the paperwork in front of them again and again, they said they had reasonable doubt, and therefore that's their right as a juror. We tried very hard to make sure that we weren't a hung jury. 11 of us, 10 for sure.
Preempting the new Stormy Daniels movie.
I want to say something real quick, though,
Sure.
is that this highlights the fact right there. Listen to what she just said, right? She basically just outed the fact that they had basically an agenda. They said that we were doing everything that we could. Like, she was like, in other words, they're saying, yeah, we were pressuring her to join us, do what we say. Well, this is great because I'm going to wait till the very end, but most of you guys watching have watched my personal scopes, and I predicted this, that there would be a juror, but this is before there was even a what do you call it? A verdict. I said there would be a juror that would dox themselves and end up on CNN, and that CNN would use it to hurt the president, or at least attempt to. Watch this.
We're positive from almost day 2, and the rest of us,
Day 2,
the other 2,
that's early.
We're not sure, and we spent a lot of time deliberating and doing due diligence.
That's a violation
like we were
of the
supposed
rules
to as a
right
jury.
there.
And in the end, even though
We did a lot of time doing due diligence, James, because after we were convinced on day 2, we had all the rest of the time to do due diligence.
I mean, she basically just
We could
outed
tell
herself
her
that they broke the
that-
rules. They're literally, the jury instructions is to not come to any conclusions until all the evidence has been seen and is in. Like, she's telling you, we made up our mind on day 2. We just kind of hung out and ate some free ham and cheese sandwiches for the rest of the trial.
James, you're pretending like rules still matter. You're pretending like ethics still matters. Once upon a time, it was against the rules to get jurors out on CNN and use them as a battering ram against your perceived political opponents. But hey, it's a brave new world, my friend.
the defendant met the criteria to charge him as guilty, she would in the end say she just had reasonable doubt.
I read that you said, I wanted Paul Manafort to be innocent, but he wasn't. I know you're a supporter of President Trump and you're skeptical of the special counsel investigation as a whole. To those who may hear that and wonder, well, why did you vote to convict? What would you say?
Oh, the evidence.
Because your civic duty as a juror, as Judge Ellis said, was to, the defendant has the presumption of innocence. And you
up until day 2.
the witnesses, you accept the evidence, and you make your judgment based on
After
those
day 2.
things.
After
And
day 2.
there are those that said I shouldn't have been a juror because they say I was biased, according to social media. At least that's what my daughters are telling me.
Oh.
And that's not true. If I were biased, I would have said I would have been the holdout vote, and I was not the holdout vote.
Well, the main thing is the people on Twitter don't think you're biased anymore. Well done. Bravo. I knew he was guilty on day 2. My daughters are very happy because they're not getting kicked out of their Facebook groups anymore. I'm once again welcome down at the salon.
Well, number one, I would recommend your daughters not read social media because I can tell you nobody will come with that. But I got to say, I mean, you give me faith in the system. The fact that you're exactly the kind of juror somebody would want, that you can put aside whatever your political beliefs might be and just look at the evidence and make a decision based on that.
I think I like it that Anderson Cooper finds this amazing. You know, wow. Finally, I've met a Trump supporter that isn't a raving, gun-toting lunatic Nazi. I mean, this is incredible. If I watch too much CNN, and I do because I'm Anderson Cooper, I would have thought that you're all raving lunatics, but apparently we found the good one. Well done for you. Bravo.
I think coming out, the Trump thing wasn't going to be part of what I had to say until the last bit. But I thought, you know what?
This poor woman.
Shows people that we can have differences of opinions and still work together to get justice done. I thought it was an inspiring thing to hear about.
The Trump hat thing, for people who don't know, you have a Make America Great Again hat, but you kept it in your car.
I did, and it's actually my husband's hat, just for clarification. We don't need to.
Okay.
But I mean, we're both Trump supporters, and
she just voted for Donald Trump because her husband told her to, by the sounds of it. Hillary was right. Hillary was right. You know what? I actually feel a bit sorry for this lady. She seems like a lovely lady.
Right.
Okay? Don't get me wrong. And we're not laughing at, her or her situation or anything like that. But part of me, James, just finds this a little bit sickening. She's being used by CNN here to push their agenda. And I don't think anybody particularly cares about Paul Manafort. That's the other. Do you care about Paul Manafort?
Not
Do
in
you
the
care
slightest.
if he's guilty or innocent or otherwise?
Could
If he's
care
guilty,
less.
go to jail. Fine. If he's guilty, go to jail. But
this is the spin.
Isn't it all just a little convenient?
Yep. Go ahead. No, you're dead on track. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. The pictures in the MAGA hat. I'm a Donald Trump supporter. I thought it was inspiring to keep my MAGA hat in the car. Well, my husband's MAGA hat in the car for the 2 days until I was convinced Paul Manafort was guilty. And now I'm on CNN. My daughters have been reading on social media that I'm biased. Right? I mean, we're just ticking all the little boxes here. And this is something that it's a credibility crisis at CNN at the moment. And they're working their way back. They're trying to work their way back. What do you think?
I think you're spot on. I think that's exactly right. Sometimes, see, when we try to highlight these lefty stories and the way they do it, is there's subtle moves. These guys are subtly swaying their audience that, see, CNN is not biased. See, CNN will put Trump supporters on. See, CNN supports the rule of law. See, these are all subtle things that they're trying to use this woman to steer for. But I'm waiting because I'm still waiting for Anderson. We know Anderson. Anderson cannot stop himself. He will step in it before this interview's over.
Let's have a look.
We feel that President Trump deserves a chance to try to do the job without all of the other stuff going on around him. Unless, of course, it's illegal. The law is the law. And my job as a
that
juror,
subtle tie right there.
Was to make sure that the law was upheld.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. He can do what he likes as long as it's not illegal.
Right. And see, they tie
and I feel we did.
right over to Manafort. They tie that nice little connection point there, nice and subtly, even though this has, as our friend Boogie says, sweet F all to do with Trump.
Nothing to do with Trump. Not one of these charges relates to Donald Trump in any way at all. But you get the girl with the I'm a Trump supporter. She's wearing the MAGA hat, ladies and gentlemen. She says, I think Donald Trump needs to be able to do what he can as long as it's all legal and above board. Again, she was doing her civic duty. She convicted a guilty man, James, and credit to her. Well done. Well done for doing your civic duty. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. But if everybody knew that it had nothing to do with Donald Trump, you wouldn't be on CNN, darling. That's the point.
Yep.
Have convicted him on all 18 counts. I feel there was enough information to do that. And that's, I thought America needed to know it was 11-1.
I know you've said that you believe the Mueller investigation is a witch hunt.
Say the Mueller investigation
hadn't happened.
Told you.
There's no
bingo. James scores another 100% on his predictions. Bingo
for these financial crimes. Does that justify the Mueller investigation at all to you?
No, he should be punished for his crimes. It just shouldn't have come about in the way that it did, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He's not laughing anymore, is he?
The president should pardon Paul Manafort? Or how would you feel if the president pardoned Paul Manafort?
I feel it would be a grave mistake for President Trump to pardon Paul Manafort.
Why?
Justice was done. The evidence was there. And that's where it should stop.
One of the things that the president campaigned on was draining the swamp. And that's obviously something people on all sides of the political aisle, don't like the way Washington works.
Check box.
Yeah, we're all on the same side here. We're all against the swamp. Clearly, Paul Manafort is part of the swamp, and he was hired by Donald Trump. Don't you think that's bad for Donald Trump?
To you, is Paul Manafort part of the swamp?
There it is. There it is.
Well, there's the irony. Maybe he is. I think my favorite thing that Trump
what a
said, of course,
surprise.
is make America great again.
I am very shocked, James, by this turn of events in this interview. By the way, guys, we didn't pre-watch this.
No,
we haven't pre-watched this yet. No.
And I've gotten a lot of flack over this, and I've had people calling, worried about my safety.
Yeah, going on CNN, that's a good way to fix it.
When peaceful Americans' views are silenced from fear, then America is certainly not a great country.
Well done.
Maybe what we need are caps that say, make America kind again.
Do you think that's a hat that the president would wear? Make America kind again?
Listen to that. Look at that subtle. Oh, she doesn't even realize. I don't even think she realizes what he just did to her. Oh, my Lord.
Well, because the president's a big meanie, James. Now.
Kind again. Because I think once we're kind, then we will be great. Tolerance is important. I want people to get out and vote. No matter who you vote for.
What?
Get out and vote. That's your duty. Voting and serving on a jury, that's so important to who we are. So many people have fought for that right. And I don't care what side you're on. Just vote.
Just vote.
Paula Duncan, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't care what side you're on, James. Just vote. Another truly inspiring tale from a woman who wanted to inspire America by keeping her Make America Great Again hat in the car and was convinced of Paul Manafort's guilt after 2 days and then spent the rest of the trial trying to convince the one holdout in a room that you should think he's guilty too. But you know what? As long as we can be kind again, James, then America will be great. And maybe Donald Trump wouldn't wear that hat. Who's to say? But like I said, in this crazy mixed up world, this person would never be on TV in the first place. There's your hammering.
Aloha, welcome back. We are now into bonus, super overtime coverage. We are free to cut loose and have a little bit more fun. So sorry that I didn't really say anything at the end of that last segment. We were out of time. We're trying to watch the clock. Literally, guys, seriously.
I wasn't sure how it would work. I thought we'd go right up to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of this was all new. Neither one of us have ever done this from our positions. Now, most of you know I've been on Your Voice America, so I've been in Boogie's seat as just being a talking head, but I didn't have to worry about time constraints. I didn't have to worry about the clock.
Just a talking head, he says.
Just a talking head.
Just a talking head, he says. You don't bring anything except a talking head, he says. You've got no charisma, no charm, no wit, no funny bone to extract. You're just a talking head.
That's right. So, but today, man, I'm telling you, Boogie, this is our first time doing it. So I thought it went pretty well. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how the rest of this night goes. But now we're on free time. So listen, that hammering, did you see? Number one, I have to toot my own horn. Come on. I called that down to the wire. That's 100% prediction, right? And these guys are stupid. These guys continue to do the same stuff over and over and over again and think that it's going to somehow change people's minds. Look, the lady is a sweetheart. The lady tried to do her civic duty. Yeah. The lady tried to do the right thing. The lady even had great talking points. The problem is that a lamb went into the lion's den and got used, like literally used, by CNN. And I feel bad for her. I'm with you. I feel bad that she doesn't understand what just happened to her. Like, they subtly used that woman front to back and got in all kinds of shots right underneath the surface that went right over her head. And it's like, man, I feel so bad for her. But, you know, this is the problem. This is what we knew they would do. And this is why they continue to try to sell this Russia, this Stormy Daniels, this Paul Manafort, this anything. None of it has anything to do. None of it has a single thing to do with Donald Trump. And yet they allowed her words to be used to twist into their words to tie back to Russia and Paul Manafort back to Trump. Should have never happened. But this is what happens when a lamb goes into the lion's den.
Yeah, and this is why you don't get exceedingly competent people in that position. She was hand chosen, right? Yeah. Like, this is no accident. Now, they might have asked a few people, but I guarantee this is the one that they wanted on CNN. I don't know. She probably would have got paid a bit of money to go on CNN as well. Like, wouldn't be much, probably a couple of G, I'd say, something like that. Hey, why don't you come on, Anderson Cooper? Tell us about your experience. It's all going to be very pleasant. And see, this is the other thing too, when I try to explain to people, James, when we talk about Anderson Cooper, not so much, but definitely like your Chris Cuomo. These people are very good at what they do. Like, you know, we laugh, we joke, we make jokes about how they're dumb, but what they do, like, they're dumb to us. They're
right,
dumb to like our listeners. Right. But what they're doing is so subtle and so trained, and they're very, very good at it. And most people don't suspect. Most people don't pick up on those little rhetorical cues that are getting slipped in. The loaded questions, James, the inferences, the backing you into a corner and forcing you to back a position that you otherwise wouldn't. See, that's very subtle stuff. It's rhetorical. It's wordplay 101. And they're exceptionally good at it. But see, they're in such a credibility crisis now. The CNNs, the MSNBCs, stuff like this will work. It might chip back 0.005% for them. Right. And they're going to need some credibility in the midterms, because a lot of their plans will rely on people watching them. And right now, people are not watching them. I tend to think it's beyond critical mass now, which is, you know, another reason why all the censorship is kicking in exactly at this point.
Yep. But
I think we're past that credibility cliff. They're off the cliff now. But, you know, that doesn't mean they're going to stop trying, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's their goal. That's their mission. They don't have a choice. They've backed themselves into this corner. So, you know, this is just like the other things that we point to and we talk about all the time, is that, you know, sometimes it doesn't matter what you say in the middle. It only matters what you say when people are watching. So if you think about this from a long-term strategic point of view, right? What did CNN actually do? See, you have to put CNN in the liberal mindset, in the Democrat position. We know that they're in bed with the Dems. We know this. We're the people that are engaged, and that's the key. After the election, the middle of the country went to sleep, most of them, and most of the left, their base, went to sleep. So CNN could say whatever they wanted, and nobody knows they said it. If a tree falls in the woods, did it make a sound? This is what they're doing. So now we're in September. Now they're going to start getting back to just like the polls, right? The polls are saying Donald Trump has no shot in hell of winning. And then towards the end, they start getting it closer, right? That most of them. And then afterwards they go, this was the most accurate. Yeah. They go, this is the most accurate poll in the 2016 elections. But it might have been the most accurate. Why? Because it said Donald Trump was going to lose by 80% instead of 90%. That doesn't make it accurate, but it's terminology. So we're back to that. It's September. September's right next week. It's right around the corner. They're going to start doing this. They're going to start trying to claw back to look reasonable and middle of the road. And all of their co-hosts are going to talk like Anderson Cooper now. And they're all going to be like, oh, da-da-da-da. And even Don Lemon, prediction right now. Don Lemon, by the end of September, will sound like Anderson Cooper and not like Don Lemon. Why? Because they want the normie people. They want the middle of the road people to think that they're the reasonable adults in the room. And everything Donald Trump has just spent the last year saying about the fake news is all fake. This is how the game is played. But see, they don't count on people like us. People like me, like Boogie, like you watching this show right now. People like Your Voice America, the real media now. the people that are getting out there and explaining the real truth behind what they're really doing, and that we are the mainstream. We're going so out to every corner of the universe that's why they're trying to censor everybody. Because if this message gets out and their plan is laid bare, and all it takes is for one normie to go back and look at a preview or a replay of a CNN episode from a month ago, and they'll see, oh my God, Donald Trump was 100% right. That's what they rely on. They rely on people's ignorance.
Yeah, and short memories, James, because we've discussed this concept with Tom Chatelet. What used to be the 24-hour news cycle is now about the 12-minute news cycle. That's right. And from day to day to day, you're bombarded constantly, and what seemed real only 2 or 3 days ago is now very much in the column of the unreal. And I tend to think that it might be a 50-50 thing. It might be 50% by design and 50% by circumstance, just because of the nature of social media and information sharing that we're all involved in. But where they thought they would gain an advantage with social media, and hey, we can tighten our vice grip on these people. We can really hammer home the stories that we want to hammer. It is, I'm sorry, it's a bit like the Matrix, where you've got people like jacking into this mainframe of social media and infecting it like a virus to spread their counter narratives around. And that's like putting up roadblocks to the mainstream press, and they're not able to, would you say, infiltrate the psyche of the body politic in the same way that they would have been able to previously. Certainly not in the same way that they expected to with the information revolution, which again, I'm sorry, all roads lead to censorship at the moment. All roads lead to you must stop, you must stomp on the biggest voices out here in this alternative world. And I don't even like calling it alternative media. To me, it's all media. Like, there is no alternative media. That's because right. That, again, we're playing the wordplay here of the mainstream, aren't we? It's like gun control. So we're having a gun control debate because they want gun control. Otherwise, they would say the Second Amendment debate, but they don't say the Second Amendment debate. They railroad you into accepting their premise before the debate's even begun by calling it gun control. Same thing here. Oh, that's the alternative media. This is the media, and that's the alternative media, because it instantly gives an inference of delegitimization to it. It's not legitimate. Right. It's alternative. It's out there. It's not to be messed with, right? It's to be ignored.
That's right.
So it's all media as far as I'm concerned.
It's the same word game on why that they change everybody's name every decade or so. Let me take a second here to welcome in the trolls. Cyber Demon 531, welcome. Just to let you know, we don't block trolls. We welcome you. We give you a chance to learn. We give you a chance to swallow the red pill. You can try to disrupt our crew all you want, but our crew is rock solid. So it's awesome. We're glad you're here. We love it. We love the trolls. In fact, we actually advertise to try to get you guys to come in. We love to spin off of the things that you say and make you look like absolute fools when you say it. So, having said that,
I actually think the only people that should have guns are professional wrestlers. So there you go. We just solved one problem we solved two problems with one situation. Let's give all the professional wrestlers guns. They can shoot each other, and then there's no more professional wrestling, and all the guns are in a controlled fake environment where nobody gets hurt. So it's perfect.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. It's why they change the names of everybody like every 10 years, right? It's like, it's just like the most hilarious thing to me now is that it's a bunch of like 20-year-old white liberal college kids running around that are explaining who's racist. How in the hell are these the people that would have any idea what even racism is about at this age? Why? Because they didn't live through the real hard times. They didn't live through getting their ass beat every single day for no reason other than the race that they were. They don't understand what was going on and where the country was. They have no idea that today our country basically, racism doesn't even exist except for the ones that perpetuate it, the race pimps, the people that are actually profiting off of it, people like Planned Parenthood, people like Al Sharpton, people like Al Gore. These are the people that actually profit. Yeah, I mean, they make money off of this. It's not, it's literally, I said this earlier today. I said, you know what? you want to watch all the offended people disappear. You want to watch their offense go away. Just disappear into the ether. They will never be offended again. You only have to do one thing to make all of that happen, and that is to re-legalize dueling. You want to watch some people suddenly find a way to not be offended by something? Yeah, let them know that they can be formally challenged to a duel. Then they'll see what happens.
Yeah, you know what? I used to get beaten up for not being racist enough, James. Hey, do you hate that guy? No, he's okay. You piece of shit. You should hate that guy. Look, I tend to think that that there's always going to be an element of that, because it's very hard. It's very hard for people to drop long held. Okay, take this. Put it this way to progressives. Then they would say it's incredibly difficult to drop long held stereotypes, and I would say yes, you're right. Such as the stereotype that progressives go around saying that everybody's racist and seeing racism everywhere. So I don't expect you to stop seeing racism everywhere anytime soon, because that's your stereotype. You assume that everybody on the outside of your bubble is racist and bigoted and a Nazi and whatnot. And you've probably held that belief for a very long time, possibly since the 60s, or at least been a link in the chain from the 60s from your, professors who came up with various theories in a haze of bong smoke while they were burning bras and marching against the Vietnam War, which is fine. It was a time in history. But that long-held stereotype is going to be very difficult for you to get over. And then they would say, of course, oh, no, but that's not a stereotype. The people, all those racists over there, all those other people, they're the ones that believe in the stereotype, to which I would say, oh, all those people, they all think the same way. Don't you see how you're just doing the stereotype thing? So that's how you can implode worlds. But those people are always going to be around. You're not going to get rid of them. I think the only way to deal with them is to ignore them.
Yeah. No, they were gone. That's my point, is that they're so microscopic. Like, look, I'm going to even touch on a worse subject, right? It's even touchier than racism. There's this kind of undecided term called reverse racism, where it's the minorities that hate the white people. Okay. So they've kind of gone with the term reverse racism, since racism always traditionally meant white people hating on minorities. So when you look at this situation, you see what's happening in the real world today. 39% support for the president out of the black community. 39% support out of the Hispanic community. You look at the numbers climbing. You look at people like me and our friend Phil, who I just happen to see right now, is actually in the audience. Asian people, half-breeds, people like us that you can blindfold with dental floss, right? We're the people that grew up and understand what real institutional racism is, and we can speak from experience and tell you it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone, okay? There's literally an intelligence gap, and that's where a lot of the problem comes, is that people that are ignorant. There you go.
Asian proclaims Asian supremacy, claims he is more intelligent than everybody else in America. There you have it. Racism confirmed. Oh, no, the problem is, white America, you're just stupid. You don't understand. Are you on that new show, James? What is it, Filthy Rich Asians or something like that that's being passed around?
I've never even heard of that show before. That's hilarious.
Stinking Rich Asians or something. It's a brand new show. Brand new show on cable. It's not racist or anything. It's just an information gap. It's just an intelligence gap, really.
That's right.
When you think about it. That's why they're rich. Yeah.
That's right. It literally comes down to that, is that it's an information gap. It is literally not understanding where the history is. And it was done to us by design. That's what you just talked about. The liberal professors that are all smoking dope with their students on campus. These are the people that are controlling history, because they control the history books. This is what we're seeing right now with censorship, is electronic book burning. What we're seeing on the campus is already book burning without the fire. They just hide the text. They just refuse to study the text. They absolutely refuse to teach history in a historical manner. Like, these things happened. These were the signs of the times. This is what happened on this date that went to this, that caused this. This was the causation. They just make this crap up now. And so they've lost touch with it. There's nobody that's younger than me that could possibly tell you really what real true racism is, unless they got very lucky and were just in the right situation at the very wrong time with the very wrong person involved. Because I can tell you, watching it happen, growing up, watching it disappear step by step by step by step, that there's no such thing as institutional racism. It's just, in fact, you could argue that it's completely the opposite. You could argue, and that's why we see these things right now where we see people talking about the fact that, you know what, affirmative action, man, it needs to go away. We need a merit-based system. Everybody. That's what's going to help these people. All of us, like all of my people, your people, their people, whose people, American people. That's what we care about, is Americans. Every one of them. Don't care what race, don't care anything about what they look like, other than are they smart enough to get the jobs that we need done for America.
Yeah, and look, I think that stuff is going to be slowly coming to an end because younger people, they don't really respond to that garbage as much as we think. You know, I tend to think it's more the baby boomer, old 60s flower children trying to relive, the revolutions of the 60s and then trying to, it's a bit like, you were a high school football player, James, and you were really good, but you broke your ankle and injury cut you down, and you should have been an NFL
I'm
player.
Asian? I was never a football player. Now you're trying to make me feel bad because I'm Asian. I didn't get to play football. I was always too little. Come on. No, you would have been. I'm just kidding.
You would have been a quarterback because you're so smart. So it's a bit like if you're a football player and you break your ankle in high school and you never get to make it to the NFL, and then you're pushing your kid really hard to, no, you can be an NFL player, and you're training them every day until they cry, and you're down there and you're shouting at the coach and you're shouting at the umpire, you're shouting at the other parents at the football field. You think your son is the absolute best. You've taught him everything he knows. That's a bit like what it's to me, like the progressive baby boomers, and they dominate the education system, James, whether it be from kindergarten all the way through university. They dominate the public service. And I think they're trying to pass on that legacy. But when you go outside and you just talk to people, or, you talk to your neighbor over the back fence, for example, and I don't think kids resonate because, the kids now, they're starting to turn. You look at Germany, for example, the younger kids in Germany, they're all voting for the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, because they're sitting there in school getting told how they're evil and racist and bigoted and, they're all basically like Hitler if they have any conservative views. And they go, hey, this all happened like 60 years before I was born. Like, why the fuck am I getting blamed for this? Yeah, and that's similar. There's a similar effect happening here. If I can just change to a different topic, what did you make of Nick Pulse? He didn't get the biscuits. He did run in second. It was a very good campaign. Yeah. And just to put a little bit of positive spin on it, it's very rare for somebody to win the first time. Mm-hmm. And I think if he did decide to run again in a couple of years from now, he now has a solid foundation to launch from. I mean, if you run second in a race, then okay, you're a competitor now, right?
Right.
So, but I mean, obviously it's a long way away. He had a good effort, but what are your general thoughts on the Nick Pulse non-election?
Man, I got to tell you guys that I am proud of Nick and proud of every single one of you watching this program that helped us with Nick. Think about the phenomenal nature of what actually happened. How many numbers of votes he actually did, how much impact he had on that race. That, even though he didn't win this time out, I think you're absolutely right that he's shown that this is what we can do, that the power is here. We just are going to fine tune it and move forward. The future of Congress looks like Nick Pulse. There's no doubt about it. There is absolutely zero doubt in my mind that that's what the future of Congress looks like. It might not happen this cycle. It might happen the very next cycle. It might happen in 2 cycles, but I'm telling you that's what the future looks like. It looks like a guy who has America's interests at heart. It looks like a guy that can talk to real Americans right through his own cell phone, put you on camera, create basically mini news conferences all on his own. He doesn't need any filters between him and the people. That's the future of Congress. It looks like Nick Pulse, and other congressmen are going to start to learn from Nick Pulse. They're going to start to pay attention to what did he do? How did he do it? How does he connect? What is the connection point? Because, see, people are going to try to fine tune and distill this new thing so that they can lie to us in the future. But when you're this much discerning, when you're learning at the hands and you're so far ahead of the establishment, that is 2 generations off. We're going to be able to win through Congress this way, with this model, with our leading candidate like Nick Pulse in the future. I'm telling you, I find a lot of positivity in what happened with Nick Pulse.
No, that's good. I just want to say, reach out to Cyber Demon. Oh, the best troll we've ever had, Cyber Demon. I won't be blocking you. You will be promoted to the head of the class. We might even make you a moderator. Yeah, because I think you're fantastic. It's kill the establishment. The future is Ocasio-Cortez. It's F the liberals, F the conservatives. I think it's fantastic. So we're on every Sunday night, by the way. So if you want to come back, you're more than welcome.
I love Phil's comment too. Spaghetti egg rolls. Yeah, spaghetti egg rolls. That sounds yummy. Like most people are going, what? But yeah, no, that was hilarious because he's half Asian, half Italian. So that was hilarious. We love you guys in the chat. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out with us again for another Sunday night. Let's talk real quick about what our plans are going forward. So you got a taste for the show tonight. Sure. You saw how our new platform is kind of going to roll out, what we're going to do. We're going to cut loose at the end. But that we're going to stick to the time constraints for now. We're going to try to do this again next week, a little bit more polished, a little bit more understanding of what exactly to do and how to hit our cues and our marks and all that stuff. But we still plan on bringing you this top content. I'm going to add a couple things, and I want you guys to realize what we're doing here is that we are going to be one of those shows that's probably maybe right now the only show that's do you remember the 80s sitcoms filmed before a live studio audience? Well, we're filmed before a live internet audience. So that's going to be a little tagline I think I'm going to put in there. So I think it's hilarious, little side humor as well as, making you guys part of the show. So people like the Cyber Demon that want to come in and really show everybody how they're sticking it to the man, you'll be right there, right on our show while we stick it back.
We did mention Stormy Daniels, unfortunately. I think that'll do us. Yeah. Kill all men, says Cyber Demon. What a way to end.
That's a winning platform, Cyber Demon. Keep running on that platform. Ocasio-Cortez is going to do you justice. Aloha, everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll talk to you soon. What is going on?